Thanks so much for having us present with you guys. And I am representing a much larger team and just really talking about my NASA data for you. And my NASA data really is a suite of resources. And I invite you to go ahead and feel free to Google my NASA data right now to try to follow along with us. If that helps you learn better that way, absolutely please do that. Um, as I mentioned, my NASA data is a suite of resources managed by NASA Langley Research Center, and we are part of the Globe Mission Earth SciAct project. And I wanted to start out by really grounding us in one of the key areas where my NASA data supports Globe Mission Earth, and that's in student projects and investigations. Here, pictured on the right, are two students from Louisa Middle School. And these students are presenting their final research to their classroom of peers that was about climate change. And this was part of their 7th grade life science class. And the maps and the graphs that you see here are from our My NASA Data website. So I mentioned My NASA Data is a suite of resources and that they're available through the website. When SciAct first started in 2016, we then spent the next couple of years actually working with our GME partners and teachers, reorganizing and refocusing our content to provide what they were asking for, which was a progression of Earth science data resources aligned to next generation science standards. And so we reorganized our resources into Earth system spheres, and the resources are also grouped by Earth system phenomena. So these are current Earth system topics that help teachers with phenomena-driven instruction. And this selection of featured topics and the overall organization was informed by our teacher groups from Globe Mission Earth and others. We have 3 former classroom teachers on our team that have each spent 10 or more years in the classroom. And we bring in practicing teachers as teacher interns through the NASA internship program. And teachers also serve on different committees like our website review committee, teacher product review team, and our advisory board. So what I'd like to do is take you through an example progression of the resources, and I want to focus on urban heat island because part of Globe Mission Earth, our PI Kevin, leads the Globe field campaign for urban heat island. So when you're on the website, under each sphere, you'll select a phenomena. And then under each phenomena, resources are grouped by mini lessons, lesson plans and story maps, and the Earth System Data Explorer. Now, this progression represents complexity of material and data analysis skill. It also tracks in terms of instructional time and the time required in the classroom and student independence. So let's look at this mini lesson. This is called Surface and Air Temperatures Throughout the Day. In this activity, the students would analyze the map that's pictured here. And you'll notice several icons across the top. The magnifying glass icon indicates that this activity is compatible with our very popular data literacy question cubes. And then you'll also see several Google icons. Teachers had really started requesting these Google Classroom links even before COVID. So adding these Google resources has really become a main focus for us during this pandemic. Now, let's take another look at a different activity, still in the same suite, comparing temperatures and solar radiation for common latitudes. This is one of our complete lesson plans. So unlike a mini lesson, which can be thought of a little bit more like a bell ringer, this would take more instructional time. But our teacher feedback is telling us that they need these full lesson plans. And one of the reasons that they cite is that it is easier for them to submit the documentation to their administration. And you'll see from the icons at the top that this lesson plan is compatible with our question cubes. And in fact, students are asked to analyze mapped data. So like the visualization image that you see here, as well as then later in the lesson plan, they do graphed data. Now, this lesson offers multiple Google resources, including interactive student sheets. And so those resources all fit together for students to analyze surface temperatures between locations, analyze solar radiation between locations, and then examine those patterns and determine what variables might be responsible for those differences. Now, the topic of urban heat island is one of our featured phenomena where we also have created a story map. And a story map is an interactive teaching tool that leverages ArcGIS online mapping and analysis capabilities to engage users with a variety of data, multimedia content, and tasks in one simple web-based interface. So the story maps have been very popular since they are a digital resource, and it can be assigned in pieces or the complete lesson plan. And the icons here at the top you see indicates that it's compatible with our question cubes, the data, mapping, and graphing question cubes. And again, we're working to include Google Classroom features and interactive sheets wherever we can. So a little more about the story maps. We currently have 6 story maps for a featured phenomena, and each story map follows the 5E instructional model. So they're very small probably to you on your screen, but there are tabs going across that said engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. And it's exciting for Urban Heat Island because we've actually been able to incorporate not just NASA data sets, but also globe school level data as well into the story maps. So what's kind of the beauty and the allure of the story maps? Well, again, it's all there in one interface. So there's narrative text that describes the map data or the multimedia content. There are lesson questions throughout to check for student understanding. And in this tab of the story map, we're under Explore. The students will work with an interactive map that typically has multiple layers of data. And this one in particular has an analysis tool embedded. And so this is the swiping tool. So as the student moves the slider from right to left, they can more easily see changes over time. So students get excited that these tools are really built into the infrastructure that they have. So now going one more level, the Earth System Data Explorer affords the ability for more student open-ended inquiry. And we have over 70 data sets, and some are daily, monthly, or yearly data sets. And the data sets are organized again by sphere and phenomena. And we have an Earth Science Data Advisor on our team who helps us to curate relevant data sets. So upon entering the tool, you would click at the top left, it says data set, and then you would be able to select the data set that you're looking for. Here, we're looking at monthly surface air temperature. And students can analyze this data at the global level, or they can zoom in for a more regional or local perspective. So that was kind of the scale of the data, but through the same interface, we can select a location by using the map tool at the top or by inputting a latitude and longitude. And we can create a time series graph. My NASA data has historically served historical data sets to our students and teachers. And I also wanted to point out one other feature at the above the image, there's some text. This is a description of the data that includes the source as well as some characteristics that is written in a way that should be understandable for teachers and the students. So I wanted to also mention a little bit more about Globe. I really appreciated David's comment yesterday about the Gospel of Globe. So what are further connections that we have? So we have taken our data set list for the Earth System Data Explorer and aligned them to the different Globe investigation areas. So we have Globe campaigns that we have the alignment for, the observer tools, protocol bundles, and protocols by Earth System Sphere. So you'll see here pictured on the right, this is the biosphere and the globe protocols that fall under biosphere in that leftmost column. And in the rightmost column are data sets in the Earth System Data Explorer that align to that. So in other words, if a student was doing an investigation, they very well might want to pull some of this data to further their investigation.
Jessica, 1 minute warning.
Perfect. All right, so what are some opportunities for further collaboration? Well, we invite you to help influence our resources by having one of your educators serve on the website review committee, product review team, or advisory board. New for 2.0, we are planning to have a data advisory board. So for those of you that work in data literacy, visualizations, let us know if you're interested. We can also help promote your resources. So if you've got earth science activities related to our phenomena, please let us know. We didn't talk much about our STEM career connections, but we do like to promote SME videos. And I can see a thread that has been happening, of course, of several different presentations about stories. So, the last thing I just want to share with you are some quotes from our teachers. They are the reason we do what we do. We can all develop all the interesting tools that we want, but unless they are useful to students and teachers and responsive to their needs, they're really not helpful. So ultimately, we have a pretty big vision, and that's to change students and teachers' lives to help them use data for their own decision making and learning. So it's this sort of feedback that really helps motivate our work. So please contact us if you've got any questions or ideas.